Buying or selling a home in California, it's a huge deal, right? A massive transaction. And because of that, there are some really strict rules in place to make sure everyone involved is protected. But what are those rules, really? And what happens when an agent actually breaks them? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the specific laws every agent has to follow and the very serious consequences when they don't. And that really is the big question, isn't it? When something goes wrong in a deal, who's the one who actually steps in? The answer to this is pretty much the backbone of California's entire consumer protection system for real estate. All right, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to meet the state's powerful real estate guardian, see exactly how a complaint goes from just an allegation to real action, and then we'll dive into the top violations that can literally end an agent's career. And finally, we'll look at what the ultimate consequences really are. So first up, let's meet the guardian of California's real estate laws. And it really all boils down to one key player, the real estate commissioner. Yeah, and this isn't just, a friendly suggestion. It's a legal obligation. The law literally says the commissioner is duty-bound to enforce the rules. This role exists for one specific reason, to make sure there's a powerful authority watching over the entire industry, and most importantly, protecting the public. And believe me, the commissioner has some serious teeth. They can investigate any agent, they can suspend or even permanently revoke their license, and they can flat out deny applications from new agents who don't seem up to snuff. Now think about that for a second. They don't just punish bad behavior after it happens, they have the power to screen for honesty and truthfulness before someone even gets a license in the first place. Okay, so that's the who, but how does this all work in the real world? Let's trace the path a complaint takes, from the moment a client has a problem to an official action is taken. So this isn't some random process. It's super methodical. It all starts with a formal written complaint. That single piece of paper triggers an official investigation. And we're not talking about just a phone call. Investigators are out there gathering evidence, checking bank records, taking statements. Sometimes an informal conference can clear things up, but if the issue is serious enough, it gets escalated to a formal hearing. And that's where a license can be suspended or even taken away for good. So what are the things that really get an agent in hot water? The kind of stuff that puts their license on the line? Well, we can pretty much group the most common career-ending violations into three main categories. You could almost call them the three deadly sins of real estate. The first one, and you could argue it's the most important, is all about the fundamental duties of honesty and full disclosure. Trust is everything in this relationship, right? And these rules are designed to protect that trust at all costs. A huge violation here is misrepresentation, basically failing to tell your client about important facts. But here's the absolute critical takeaway. Get this. It doesn't even matter if the client lost a single dime. The law judges the agent's actions, not the financial outcome. Just the act of failing to disclose, that in and of itself is the violation. And it doesn't stop there. We're also talking about things like making false promises just to get someone to sign on the dotted line, or acting as an agent for both the buyer and the seller without getting the informed consent of everybody involved. And a big one, taking a secret profit or some kind of hidden commission that your client has no idea about. All right, the second major category of violations, and this is a big one. It's all about handling other people's money. The rules here are crystal clear for a very good reason. The key term you'll hear is commingling. It's a fancy legal term for a really simple and really bad idea: mixing your client's money with your own money. A classic example, taking a client's deposit and dropping it into your personal checking account. That is a bright red line you just do not cross. And this brings up a really important distinction. Commingling is mixing the funds. That's bad. But conversion, that's a whole other level. Conversion is when you don't just mix the money, you actually misappropriate it and spend it. At that point, it's not just a violation anymore. It's just plain theft. Okay, our final category of major violations covers the basics, the nuts and bolts, the professional and administrative duties you need to run a competent and legal real estate business. These are the day-to-day rules of the road. This is the stuff that should be second nature. Brokers have to properly supervise their agents. All the important records, listings, checks, you name it, they have to be kept for 3 years. And you absolutely cannot hire or pay an unlicensed person to do work that requires a license. It all boils down to a pretty simple standard. If you demonstrate negligence or incompetence, that itself is a violation.
All right, so let's say an agent gets caught doing one of these things. What actually happens? Well, the consequences are severe, and they are absolutely designed to be a powerful deterrent.
The biggest, most career-ending penalty, of course, is the suspension or complete revocation of that real estate license. For someone who does this for a living, that's it. That's the ultimate consequence. It means they can no longer legally work in real estate in California. But what about the person who was wronged, the client who lost money? Is there any help for them? Well, yes. There is a safety net called the Recovery Account. It's a state-run fund specifically designed to pay consumers who've won a court judgment against an agent for fraud but just couldn't collect the money. And here's the real kicker for the agent. If that recovery account pays out a claim because of what they did, their license is automatically suspended, and they can't get it back until they repay the fund every single cent, plus interest. And just to show you how inescapable this is, the law is crystal clear. It states that even filing for bankruptcy can't wipe out this debt. The agent is on the hook for that money, period. There's no way out. So when you put it all together, what do you see? You see that California's real estate law is really a system with layers. There's a clear authority in charge, a defined process for handling complaints, and very real career-ending consequences for anyone who breaks the public's trust. Which brings me to a final question for you. Knowing that all these rules are really about ensuring honesty, competence, and trust, what does that make you think is the single most important quality to look for when you choose an agent to represent you?